Sarahgonia is a North American Sangmar player. He is also the leader of Pack. He has dropped a review. It's a couple weeks old by now, but he's dropped a pretty good review on pretty much the state of Sangmar and the events that have caused him to quit. And basically, this should give everybody an idea of what everybody over there in Sangmar is starting to deal with. Because this review is so long, I've decided to go the text-to-speech method. I'll be pausing and giving my opinions as well, so we can break this down as it's progressing.
Before I get into this review, I want to say a few things. I've put over 1,700 hours into this game. I used to love this game. But now I'm writing this to shed light on why I lost my love for Gloria Victis. I'll try to be unbiased as possible, but these are my personal experiences I've dealt with in this game, good and bad, over the last 3 years. If you would have asked me 2 to 3 years ago my thoughts on this game, I would have highly recommended it. This is the story that has changed my mind on the matter. Around 1 year, maybe even a year and a half ago, some friends of mine and some members of the community got into a bit of a drama with part of the veteran community who were constantly pushing new players out of the community in game by means of harassment, in and out of game. By kicking players out of groups in some instanced content, so cases I did understand why they did. Others it was to force specific individuals out of the game, using exploits to grief said players, new and veteran alike.
Now, I was heavily involved in these events. I acted as an agent of chaos, you might say, just spreading around propaganda, enraging either side of the battle. I didn't really take a side, I was just trolling everybody. This war was beyond even me. I mean, these were egos clashing. The beef that they had with each other, that was too much for me.
I will not be posting screenshots of these events, due to I do not want them or others to receive backlash from the toxic players, devs. And not to mention there's no point in rehashing old wounds with them. Not to mention I do consider this to be petty.
True.
Some examples of these would like this. Person A. Hello, insert nation name. 10 different people. Shut the F up. There would also be racial and homophobic slurs mixed into these dialogues people would use in the game's nation chat. It does not exist anymore, but it used to be the main way of talking with other players in the nation across the server. At that time.
Yeah, all of that is true. That happened on a daily fucking basis. It was funny, but also pretty fucked up.
At that time, we had contacted the developers, reported these said individuals multiple times. In the end, out of the many who had harassed us in game, out of game, did these said things, only one player was banned. Yet it took the developers over 3 months of doing this with hundreds of screenshots sent to them and other friends of mine. I will also add that I do not believe all parties involved were right or wrong for how everyone acted toward each other. After dealing with these for 5 to 6 months, along with other patches that many I knew and other players were extremely angry towards, then the server fire happened, which caused everyone's accounts to be rolled back. I do not blame anyone for the last. I understand that was unfortunate events, but at the time we were all fed up and took a breather from the game. I personally came back to the game around August or September of 2021. The current date as I'm writing this is February 26th, 2022.
Oh damn.
To find all these said players to moved on to other nations and still remain in this game to this day. Currently at that time, many new players started running the nation I played in. I will say I had an amazing time with these new players. They've become some of my closest friends to date and some of the best people I've personally met in this game.
Some great people.
Then the developers implemented many new systems. Some were amazing while others were completely awful.
Terrible.
I kept trying to see the good with these updates, but the more updates and patches that came out, the worse some of them had gotten.
Preach!
We started reviving a guild I had been in for over 2 years. The tragedy struck.
Tragedy? Oh boy, we're getting into the juice, you know, the meat and the potatoes of the review. Let's see what he's talking about.
The tragedy struck. In January 2022, the leader of my guild and his wife were banned. I had spent hours trying to figure out what had happened and why they were banned. To find out that they were being accused of harboring a banned player.
That's me!
None of us even knew that a banned player had joined our guild. We had open recruitment so anyone could have joined. The developers had told us along the lines of that our guild leader knowingly harbored him, upped his rank in guild too quickly, The guild had ranked them to officer not long after they had joined, as they had been donating materials to crafters and helping us in many ways. We figured said player was a veteran, but we never questioned it due to they weren't being toxic to anyone at that time.
Fame.
They were being helpful to newer players in the nation, etc.
Making me look like a good-ass player, and honestly I am. I'm reformed as shit. Should be proof. Proof enough.
This was the developers' reasoning. No evidence was provided on what had made them think this other than word of mouth.
Having to pretend to be a new player is kind of cringe and boring, so I really don't like doing it.
Not to mention there were supposed in-game messages that looked like they might have known, yet in most other ban cases in this game they provide evidence in the Banhammer archive in the official Discord.
I didn't message him. I hardly messaged any of them. I was playing solo for the most part. I played with Tribulation way more than I played with Oni. It's just they assumed Daikul to be one of my better friends, so they popped him. That's really all it is. That's all you can even say it is with the proof that exists. If there are RPMs between Daikul and I doubt that they even insinuate that we know each other.
As a result of these events, our guild leader and his wife were banned.
Oof.
Our guild's castle was neutralized, meaning anyone could take it. Later that day, after finding all of this out, I contacted the developers in their Discord to figure out if we as a guild were going to get our guild castle back. In the end, I was treated like a scapegoat.
Sheesh! This poor lad.
Later that day I was offered my guild's castle back along with our guild's levels, but they had a catch. I was told from then on out anyone who looked suspicious / even new players that I had to get a background check from a developer.
That's fucking whack.
Firstly, before I continue, as a player it is not my job to go out of my way to find people that a games company had banned, and these people are circumventing bans to keep playing.
No, it is not your job. Don't ever let them trick you guys into thinking it is.
I will also say in the other Discord servers, my friends and I were harassed constantly by moderators for this game about the issue, saying we should be grateful that we received anything after what had happened. I was even seeing this being said by the owner of the game himself. After the events of this, we originally had 20 players active in our guild. We lost 15 of them due to this, and how upset they were over this. They all knew the mechanic was in place for a situation like this. A owner of a guild deleting their character, etc. After all of this, I become extremely stressed and frustrated with the game and the developers, and it's why I've taken so long to write this review. After all of this, I become extremely stressed and frustrated with the game and the developers, and it's why I've taken so long to write this review.
They really treated this guy like shit, and he stuck around and tried to give them the benefit of the doubt, and they kept betraying him. And that's what they're probably gonna do to the rest of you. That's the way they behave. There are so many people who have accused them of harassment, yet they somehow get away with this perfect image. Well, honestly, it's not that perfect, because people are talking about it. People talk about it constantly, whether you guys see it or not. They just don't talk about it in public because they know they're gonna get banned. Your company's image is going down the shitter because of the way you treat your players.
I wanted to cool off and not lash out in emotion over these events that had occurred. I ended up restarting the guild under a different name and look in fear I'd be held liable or friends of mine for any banned player that had joined us unknowingly, the guild by the open recruitment system. In this time as well, I never had believed what many had said about these developers and their mods until I started seeing it with my own eyes. These developers also play by favoritism of players.
Indeed they do.
I will not name any individuals in this, as they do have the power to have anyone they want banned at any time. Since that ban purge back in January of 2022, I've still been playing because of friends of mine. These friends had been struggling to stay in the game and help support the players of the nation we all lived in. If I left at that time, most of them would have left due to the crafter shortages at that time. During that time I was one of maybe 2 to 3 individuals who could help supply. I kept going and playing only because of these individuals. That was my main reason for staying so long. I didn't want my friends who still enjoyed this game to quit because they couldn't get the hours they needed to play. But in this time I've had many friends quit, due to the incidents that occurred in January 2022. Mods berating them in private guild discords.
Yup.
That veteran player base from before. And much more. In this time as well, I've seen many times mods thinking they're above everyone else.
For real.
Laughing as they report people for the smallest things, their names, which in some cases was needed, but others it was everyone questioning why. Names too similar to another player,
Power-hungry
etc.
motherfuckers.
There has also been cases where people have been banned for being a banned player with a similar names who weren't actually that said player.
Oh, this is good.
At this time of posting, I risk my account being banned. I never wanted to see this game in the state it is currently in. I will say to whom is reading this, read the other reviews and heed their warnings before trying this game. But most of all, form your own opinion and don't just take my word for it. If you think you may enjoy this game, go ahead and try it.
Brilliant! Brilliant review! Attaboy, Sarahgonia! Attaboy! Brilliant! This is totally gonna get... I probably shouldn't. I'm not even gonna jinx it. Let's deep dive into this shit, because we got even more. We have Daimon Frey reaching out.
Forgive me, please, for the delayed answer, but we have a small fire in the office. Yesterday's update caused some troubles, and we are working hard to resolve them all. Ugh, I have read your review again, and it makes me feel like I failed.
Down here, things are already starting to get spicy. He's talking about Daikul.
When the case was prepared against Daikul, I was on month-long sick leave, and it struck down right after I returned to the office. So, some things I may not remember well, or I would need reminding.
So this is taken right from the review. He asks, I just want to know if you contacted me or anyone else. I already have problems with this. First, like, all the way back up at the top, dude, the office is on fire. The updates have caused more problems. Classic. As we go down, look at here. When the case was prepared against Daikul, the fact that they just spend time trying to collect evidence, and really when there's no evidence, they will fabricate things to make it seem like it's evidence. And they do these things for no reason, essentially, man. Like, these cases, you obviously aren't showing them to anybody else. It's just cementing delusions in their head. You know, the more they can open up a case and the more they can read these fabricated events that they like to frame players for doing, the more confident they can feel in that their decision was the right one. This next part is mostly Daimon kind of being confused about who he's talking to. He's being reminded of what the review is even about.
Oni, right, you had a dude in there, an officer. I think he contacted me directly about the castle.
Yes, that was me, after Jog had told me to do so.
I would have you in my messages history.
Yes. So then he quotes things from the review, I believe.
Says, I said such thing? I simply do not remember that. That is why I wanted to ask what exactly made you feel or interpret our conversation like that.
Sarahgonia explains it wasn't you who had said it, it was Jog, and Veland.
Next time anything happens, reach me directly, okay?
Which is a little weird. Is your entire staff not held to the same standards? I don't understand. Now, I apologize, but I am going to read this part out because I think this is the most important screenshot, and this might be what I end up talking about most.
I feel like shit till now because of that situation. As I know, it could have been handled differently. The ban for Daikul was absolutely needed. He earned it. That is a fact. But I really do not like the way the castle case was handled. I know that someone reached me. I do not remember who, and when I figured out that it was simply grayed out, I rushed to change that and compensate the nation points. And I do not want to clear my name or something. I just wanted to say that I am sorry. I am responsible for that as any other team member. After that incident, I lost all faith in the game and its team. It was just a breaking point for me. Also, I won't agree on the Daikul thing since none of us knew, and we were trying not to be as paranoid about recruiting. The guy joined via the open recruitment board and then was donating stuff to us at the crafters and helping our new people. If we knew they were a banned player, I would have even personally gone to you. Sarahgonia is kind of the picture-perfect player that they want in Sangmar. This is one of the reasons that Daimon isn't being a complete dickhead to Sarahgonia. I know what's done is done, but the situation with the guild and the castle was absolutely just wrong. I know everything that's gone down in the last 3 years and my personal experiences with the game. I lost a lot of faith with the patches and updates, the staff, and the community.
I honestly don't know if I will return to the game after everything that has happened.
I would feel the same on your place. There are still some problems that are ongoing for years now, and I have trouble solving them. I think it's a little connected to the characters of NA people, but also the fact that NA was always smaller server than EU, had some smart and powerful players, and it was easier to manipulate game balance and people on smaller server. I lost all my hair trying to save Aquila from toxicity, traitoring, and spies. All things they accuse me of, by the way. I read those discords. I know who was manipulating and discouraging people to play.
This is yet another thing they're trying to accuse players of with out-of-context screenshots. They did it to me. They did it to Daikul. They're doing it to everybody they can find.
I like how Aquila people cover for others. AQ sends the smallest number of reports compared to EU and Dukla servers, and that is still a problem. That a few toxic guys were able to put us in bad light and limit the will of people to simply talk with us. I regret that deeply. That I will not have reacted earlier. He quotes Sarahgonia. There has also been cases where people have been banned for being a banned player with a similar name who weren't actually that said player. That one was mine, I believe, and it was an honest mistake. Smiley face. I know that I will not be able to restore your faith in GV and the dev team, but I wanted to thank you for your attitude and being honest.
No problem. Have a nice day.
Yes, you too. And sorry for my spam. I hope you will consider getting back. Aquila will need people like you soon. Have a good day, and thank you for your time.
Woo! What a doozy, baby. What a fucking doozy. He's saying that he believes the situation could have been handled differently, which it could have. He then says the ban for Daikul was absolutely needed and that he earned it. Who actually is supposed to believe that? Nobody has seen anything. The things that he was accused of, he didn't do. That's already been proven. Nobody knows whether or not he actually earned it. But I like the fact that later on, Sarahgonia defends his friend and guild leader, Daikul. I think that's... this dude is respectable. Sarahgonia all around is just a stellar human being. I swear to God. Alright, keep in mind and remember this part where he says, and when I figured out that it was simply grayed out, I rushed to change that and compensate the NPs. And I do not want to clear my name or something. I just want to say that I'm sorry. I'm going to show you guys something later that is going to contradict that statement. Right here where Daimon's discussing player retention and his trouble solving them, where he also says that he believes that it's connected to players like me. This is who he's referencing essentially. It's me, my friends, and then also the people who enable me, or the people who hide me. That nobody's hiding me. I just get on by myself. It has nothing to do with other people. This part is super interesting. He really thinks that players in NA are obligated to witch hunt the people that they've framed. Like, it's not their duty, man. But it actually is, guys. Like, in the EULA, you are supposed to defend against slander. So if these toxic players are slandering their employees, their company, it's your job as players to defend them. Down here, where Daimon admits to mistakenly banning a player, that player is still banned. Lord Daikul, aka Philip McCunt, is still banned, man. You can't admit to it being an honest mistake, smiley face, and then just, I don't know, you didn't fix the situation, dude. I also have this screenshot that Sarahgonia so kindly offered to provide me with. Sarahgonia says that Jog told him to get in contact with Daimon. This dude's guild and guild castle was just eradicated, and he has spent hours trying to get in contact with Jog, and then Jog tells him to contact Daimon, and Daimon doesn't even get back to him until the next day. But he says,
"Hello, I do not have any information about that situation. When the case was made, I was out of the office, but I believe decisions should not be changed, if any were made."
10 minutes later, he says,
"Talk to CEO. As we can see, you are willing to separate from the toxic players that were causing problems, and we are aware that you are doing your best to help the players and mind the game rules. We decided to give the castle back. Decided. They obviously were able to tell that he was a good guy. They made a good judgment call here. There's nothing against Sarahgonia. He's always been super helpful. There's no reason you shouldn't be helping him with this situation. At this point, it's almost too late. There's already people quitting the game, though, you know, to respond a day later. Remember when Daimon said as soon as he heard the castle was deleted, he rushed to change the situation? Well, this is Daimon receiving word that the castle had been deleted, and this is him not rushing. This is him saying that he believes the decision should not be changed. So when we look back on this screenshot, and we see Daimon saying, "And I do not want to clear my name or something, I just wanted to say that I am sorry." He is trying to clear his name. That's what this is. At a certain point, you guys need to stop lying. To your players, and to yourselves. Daimon, I know you will see this video. Jog, you might as well. But I know Daimon watches all of my videos. You guys need to work on yourselves, man. You need to take a step back from Sangmar and let those players breathe. Stop being obsessed with your banned players. Go ahead, ban them whenever you find out who they are. But this obsessive need to destroy communities just to find out where I am, who I am, it's whack. It's embarrassing. You've severely harmed the community of Sangmar by acting the way that you have. And this guy is trying to explain to you guys that your actions they're not well thought out. They're just so emotionally charged all the time. It's just not a way to behave professionally. Black Eye Games, you guys have run your experiment on Sangmar. You know, you purged the players that you didn't think belonged there. You scared players into thinking that they are not even allowed to criticize the game. They are not allowed to cuss in the game. They're not allowed to spam emote. You know, you've really shocked and scared the players so that it's just emotionless positivity constantly there. But they're all miserable because they're not having a good time and they're still quitting. You guys have work to do before full release. You should get to it. Stop wasting your time destroying the community. It's not going to benefit you in the long run.